Working with Sparklines. Sparklines are a visual representation of data that appears embedded within a cell in a worksheet. In this lesson, we're going to discuss the various types of sparklines, how to alter the design of sparklines, as well as how to compare the data that's represented in multiple sparklines. You'll learn how to create a sparkline, how to change the colour and style of a sparkline, how to deal with missing or hidden data in sparklines, how to group sparklines together to compare data, and how to remove a sparkline. Let's start out with a quick review of how to create sparklines to represent data that you've entered into a spreadsheet. To create a sparkline in Excel 2013, start out by clicking on the cell where you want the sparkline to appear, as I've done here. Go to the Insert tab and find the Sparklines group. Next, select Line. You'll then see the Create Sparklines dialog box. Now select the data that you want represented in the sparkline by highlighting those cells in the worksheet. In this example, the sales monthly history for our employee named Smith is shown. We want our sparkline to be a graphical representation of Smith's sales history. We've highlighted the sales for each month. Click on the OK button in the dialog box. As you can see, the sparkline appears in the cell that you specified. Notice the sparkline represents the sales trends as Smith's sales fluctuated from month to month. There are three different types of sparklines that you can add in Excel. They are line, column, and win and loss. Once you've added sparklines to a worksheet, you can then alter the design of those sparklines to adhere to the look and feel of your worksheet, or to better suit the data they represent. First, let's add sparklines for the two other rows here. Insert, Sparkline. Select the cells that we want to include and click OK. Let's make this a little wider so we can see the full name. And now we have our three sparklines. When we click on a cell that holds a sparkline, the Design tab will appear in the ribbon. From the Design tab, we can change the type of sparkline that appears in our worksheet. As you can see, we currently have line selected. We can switch to column or win-loss. We can choose to apply the change to one or all sparklines. To apply it to all sparklines, simply select them all. Here you can see there are column sparklines. Now we can change it to win-loss sparklines. The default colour of all sparklines that you add is blue. To change the colour of the selected sparklines, go to the Style group under the Design tab. Click on a colour to change it. We've changed ours to yellow. For more colours or to change the weight of a sparkline, you can also go to Sparkline Colour. In addition, you can choose to apply a different colour to the high point in our sparkline as well as the low point. To do this, go to the Show group, then put a check mark beside the data point you want to highlight by applying a different colour. In this section, you can select High Point to have the highest data value highlighted, Low Point to have the lowest data value highlighted, Negative points indicate negative values, the first point to highlight the first data value, the last point to highlight the last data value, and markers to mark data points in a line sparkline. Have a look at these sparklines here with the high point highlighted. Now we can do the same with the low point. You can see a slight difference with the low point being highlighted. Let's change this to just the first point. And now, just the last point. You can also change the highlight colour for the points by going to Marker Colour, and then selecting the point, followed by a colour. Let's go back to the Show group under the Design tab. This is where we select a data point to highlight. Notice that Markers was greyed out. Markers only becomes an active option with line sparklines, not columns as we've selected here. If we change the type of sparkline back to line, we will see that it becomes active. When we put a check mark besides markers, Excel places points for each set of data represented in our sparklines, as you can see here. If there are data values missing within the range that you've specified for a sparkline, you'll see it visualized in your sparkline. Using this spreadsheet as an example, we can delete the data value for the month of February for the employee named Smith. When this happens, the sparkline is interrupted, as you can see here. The two dots are here for the months either side, but there's no continuous line. Because we have the data points visualized by checking markers in the Show group under the Design tab, which is here, we can see the first data point. However, if we didn't have the data points visualized, you would likely not even see the data that comes before March, the point where the sparkline resumes after the empty cell, as you can see here. That said, you can specify how Excel deals with empty cells and missing values. To do this, go to the Design tab again. Click on the arrow at the bottom of Edit Data here, then click on Hidden and Empty Cells. You'll then see the Hidden and Empty Cells settings dialog box. You can choose an option here. Gaps makes it so that if a value is missing, there won't be a connecting line display, which is what we've seen now. 0 makes it so that when a value is missing, it will be displayed as if the value was 0. Connect data points makes it so that the missing value is ignored. The existing values will be connected with a line. However, this option is only available with line sparklines. And then show data in hidden rows and columns means Excel displays the value even when rows or columns that contain that value are hidden. Let's select 0 and click OK when you're finished. Now let's change our sparklines back to column type and select the high point instead of the last point to show a different color. As you can see, we've chosen column sparklines. In the Smith row, the high point represents 21. In the Jones row, the high point represents 26, and the Alexander row, the high point represents 22. We want a way to compare the data that's represented in all sparklines. In other words, we want a way to compare all the sparklines. The first thing we need to do is group these sparklines together. To do this, select all the sparklines and then go to the Design tab. Click on the Group button on the right here. As you can see, when sparklines are grouped together, a blue border will appear around the sparklines in the group when you click on one of the sparklines. To compare the sparklines, go to the Design tab and click on the Axis button. Look under the vertical axis minimum value options in the Axis drop-down menu. As you can see, it is set to automatically for each sparkline. The same is true for vertical axis maximum value options. To be able to compare the values in the sparklines, we need to change this to same for all sparklines for both minimum and maximum value options. By doing this, you can compare the sparklines in the group. Take a look at the screen now. We can now see that Jones has the highest data point of all three employees, followed by Alexander and then Smith. Now you can compare the values in the sparkline to the entire group of sparklines rather than just the data values that an individual sparkline represents. You can also remove sparklines. To delete a sparkline, simply select the sparkline or group of sparklines that you want to delete. Click on the Clear drop-down menu in the Design tab, and then select if you want to clear the selected sparklines or clear the selected sparkline groups.